but it's love. It's love. All right, let's get it. Hello, everybody. I'm Chase McCurdy. I'm the director here at 33 Gallery, aka 33G. We are an art gallery and advisory studio located in the west side of Las Vegas, Nevada, the 89106. I'm here in space with our brother Edison Lockwood II, filmmaker. He's here with us. He also does a lot of the content through 33G that you see. Not all of it, because if it's substandard, I'm going to take that. But when you know it hit, that's Edison. We're here with gallery notes, the first gallery note of the year. And that idea with gallery notes being, remember, we're not here to tell you what to think or how to think. We introduce ideas, really from my perspective as host in that way. I share my thoughts, and hopefully it makes you think a little bit deeper about these different topics that I bring up that in some way have some interest to myself, Edison, or someone in our tribe. Normally these come out of conversation with our day-to-day being here. Today's gallery note, we're getting into this idea, and Edison kind of caught this piece in conversation today, this idea of knowing your worth. And it does come up quite a bit in the world of art and or creative entrepreneurship, things like this. And there are levels to knowing your worth, and once again, framing in context to this idea of knowing your worth, right? And I think the baseline is your worth as a living being, as a spiritual being in this world, in this universe, is priceless. First and foremost, your worth is not determined by your craft or market value that you're able to capture for what it is that you do within a market-based society. Right? I think it's important to start there. In my world especially, because I seem like I just exist in the world of the business of art, but I come first and foremost from the place of sincere expression with no external intention, right? I developed a relationship with my expressive practice through years of personal work without thinking about ideas of commerce or market or selling, right? So if it takes you there, cool, but your worth is not determined by market value. Now, for those of us who want to enter into the space of what we see as professionalism in the arts, this is where you have to know your worth really more on a craft basis. And really we're talking here about what value do you bring to market-based and market-driven endeavors, right? So in this aspect, when I've worked in commercial photography, rarely have I been, one, the photographer, and two, in any context worried about expressing oneself, right? Many times in commercial photography, really where you're gonna get paid the most, very rarely are you the rock star photographer that gets paid a lot of money to just make whatever cool images you want. That doesn't really exist. In day-to-day life, we're thinking of a professional photographer, we're thinking about someone who is competent with the tool of a camera and the craft of making images using light, composition, understanding of context, etc. for a purpose. This is not so much about expressing oneself, whether it be in the context of making executive portraits, whether it be making photographs for an event for certain clients, whether it be any myriad of applications. A lot of times when you're thinking about being a quote-unquote artist or quote-unquote creative in a market-based society, it is really how well do you know that craft you're engaging in. Same exists with painters and the rest, right? Now, if you continue on your personal practice in the background, you know, you may get to a point where you bring something so unique that people are interested in your addition to filmmaking, painting, photography, etc. But that is not owed to you, and that is never anything that can be banked on in terms of professionalism. Right? The only thing that can really be banked on in terms of a job or professionalism is the idea of knowing your craft extremely well and being able to be of value to others. Right? And I think the key element here is being honest with oneself and where you desire to go. As far as artists and your value as a unique individual artist, I think a lot of this for me comes down to this idea of how I think, and I've said this definition a lot, of where for me that space of art being really respect for whatever human endeavor or craft, and from there an attempt or understanding of mastery of that craft, meeting a sincerity of human spirit, almost doing the work on this side of being a technically good whatever. If you're a photographer, knowing that camera, knowing exposure, knowing natural light, knowing how to work with artificial and studio-based light, knowing the history of photography, the various applications of the craft, how the craft changed over time. You have that side if we're talking photography, and then you have the side of self that has nothing to do with photography. That has everything to do with the individual that you are, your personal ideologies, philosophies toward life, the way that you approach life, and all that you interact with. I think when these two things come together in a sincere way, you get to something close to this idea of, art for me. So when it comes to knowing your value as just this idea of the unique artist, I think you have to recognize yourself, one, in studying and knowing what came before you. It's your job to know what artists came before you in whatever your medium of expression is. It's your job to know if you are copying somebody else's work or if you're learning from their work, if you're learning from their philosophy, their practice, and you're advancing and you're in conversation. You're pushing it further to desire not just to be seen, but to contribute something unique and work to a point where you contribute that authentic work that only you could create, right? But that's not an easy place to get to. So I think you know your value as an artist by your depth of practice and by how long and how consistent and how much time and effort you have given to your practice. And only you really know that. For me as an artist, success does not come from being able to have an exhibition or being able to sell an artwork. That's kind of easy to do. I'm looking for something deeper. So once again, knowing your worth, the ultimate key is context, knowing your worth in what context. Recognize that as a human being, you are priceless outside of anything that you may do. And third, if you're entering the world of the market, be honest with yourself. I think honesty with self, truth with self is the best thing that you can have because it allows you to have the best chance at taking on this thing called life. But with that, that's another gallery note, the first of the year 2026. My name is Chase McCurdy. I'm the director at 33 Gallery, aka 33G. I'm here with our dear brother Edison Lockwood II. Once again, we're not here to tell you what to think or how to think. We just want to give you some ideas to think about. This has been Gallery Notes, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.